Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer and today I'm Gamesplaining Curious Cargo. This is the setup for Curious Cargo. You'll notice these two boards, they are the first boards that are on offer. There are a multitude of other boards in the box. The idea of Curious Cargo is using these pipes that are in the bag, connect these elements to the sides. So one side is shipping, the other side is receiving. And if you're that player, shipping, receiving. If you get a pipe that is all the same color from one of these machines to one of the spots in receiving or one of the spots in shipping, then you're able to do something with it. So let's say he has built a pipe to the shipping side. He is now able to ship goods. It is a blue pipe, so he'll be shipping the blue goods. Bearing in mind that in order to finish the game, you need to ship 2 of each blue and red good. If you have not done that, you cannot possibly win the game. And that's the spot I will jump to straight away, is the end of the game. Because unless you know what you're doing for the end of the game, it's really hard to know what to do through the game. So there are a couple of different triggers that can cause the end of the game. If you ship this number of goods, so it's looking at 9. There are only 6 in each, so you'd need to kind of ship all of them and 3 of them. That will cause the end of the game. If the player reaches a star, so they receive goods, and you receive goods on the other side of the board. If you receive goods up to that point where there's a star, that will cause the end of the game. Or same on batteries. Or if you move your counter to number 10, this counter moves forward whenever you have an active pipeline. So this player, who is actually black at the moment, will be on 1 because he has 1 active pipeline. Notice that's all blue, so that's fine, and that's creating a blue good. Each time you create a new active pipeline, move forward. If you get in the way of that active pipeline, so you are allowed to put things over the top of other things, that's no longer an active pipeline. I don't lose the number of active pipelines I've had. That is tracking the most you have ever had. It never goes backwards. But once you get that tracker up to the end, so where the star is, that would cause the end of the game also. If this bag is empty, so you've drawn all of these tiles out of the bag, or if the truck deck is empty, that would also cause the end of the game. The game actually ends at the completion of the phase. So there are 2 phases in the game. There's the construction phase and the trucking phase. If one of the stars is triggered on the building phase, then we finish that phase, that's the end of the game. If the star is triggered on the loading phase, then we finish that phase, and that is the end of the game. The way in which a winner is determined is, firstly, you must have shipped at least 2 of each good type. If you haven't shipped that much, you cannot possibly win. The other person is the winner. Unless obviously both of you have not managed to ship those 2 goods from each type, in which case no one wins. And it's called a draw. If both players have managed to ship those 4 goods as a minimum, the player who got the star is the winner. So if one of the players has managed to move to the end, that person would win. However, it may be a matter of, in the phase we're in, both players manage to get to a star on this track, on the receiving track. If that is the case, then it goes to scoring, and the points that you will score are up there depending on how much stuff you have got rid of or taken in. And it's not the addition of these numbers, it's the largest number. So if this player happens to have those ones gone, he would be getting 10 points plus another 8 for this one. If that's what it looked like, he'd be getting 10 for the top, 9 for the bottom, then another 2 for the bottom, and another 8 for the top. And then obviously the right-hand number of whatever you have received. There are also some potential points up here if you've managed to get your forklift moved along those. So whichever one you're on, if you say up to there when the game finishes, you'll get another 4 points. And then each of these tokens that you have but you have not actually placed will give you 1 more point. If points are the same still, it comes down to whoever is furthest forward on this track. As you move forward, you'll move on top of the other player. So at the moment, the beige is, or white is further forward than the black. At the moment, black is further forward. So let's get into the actual game. Firstly, we go for a construction phase, which is building these pipes. The way the construction phase works is you have 3 actions. One of those actions might be taking a tile out of the bag. By the way, the version I'm playing only has 2 goods, which means we're on the white side of these tiles. If we were to play the other version, which has 3 goods, it's on the other side of these boards, you would go to the back of these tiles. So I pull 1 from the bag, that's one of my actions. If I place that onto my board, that's a second action. If I take another one, that's my third action. I can't place that because I don't have any actions left. So what I must do is put that in my storage. What I'll find over time is that my storage will gradually fill up. When you want to place things onto your board from your storage, you can only access the top of each pile. So bear that in mind. The other thing to notice is that when you're placing tiles onto your board, if you place a tile over the top of one of these little markers, you will gain one of those counters. They're called the construction tokens. You can spend construction tokens to get 2 extra actions, or if you have a splitter, which is one of these ones, sitting in front of you, you can spend that to be able to put your splitter onto the board. Now, other things to notice is you'll notice that I've been able to build on top of tiles that are already down. That is absolutely fine. You're allowed to do that. Also, what you could do is place a tile in here, but you'll notice there's a gap in the space. That's what these are for. So fill the gap, cover the gap. If at any point during this phase you manage to connect one of your machines with an outgoing or an incoming spot, you would move forward on that track. That is keeping track of how many connections you actually have. But bear in mind, once you've placed something down, you can't take it back off. Both players can do that action at the same time. You don't have to wait for the other person to go before you do your action. Just do your action. The next phase is the trucking phase. For the trucking phase, you have these cards. You start with 3 of the cards. You have a few choices with playing these cards. You'll notice there's action points on there. You can play a maximum of 2 action points. So if I had 2 cards with 1 action point, I could play both of them, or I could play one of these cards. The first thing that playing that card does is allow you to bring a truck in. So I can play that for 2 action points, find the matching truck, and then place it in my shipping zone, or I could place it in my opponent's shipping zone. The reason you might place it in the opponent's shipping zone is to upset what they're doing. The reason to place it in yours is to be able to load your truck. Now, that's not the best truck to put into this zone. I'll show you why in a second. So I might actually do that one instead. On a future turn, I might play that one. So we've gone around. I'm playing that one. I would add this truck to the back and push it until it is flush with the back of my board. That's pushing a truck in front of it forward. What now happens, because I have a pipe that comes to number 5, I would take one of my blue markers and put it there. I have now shipped that piece of cargo. The only thing with this to remember is that you cannot put in a blue next to blue or a red next to red. That is not legal. So what I'm really trying to do before this truck gets shipped out the back is to get a red onto that spot. So maybe getting this red pipe through to one of the connectors. How is that truck going to get pushed off? I'm glad you asked. When I play another truck, I push this on from the back until the tail is lined up with the back of the board. Anything that is sitting in front of the board then ships straight away to the other player. The other player can take these goods in if they have pipes like this that go to the spot where they are. You'll notice that no pipes go from 1 through 3. So he's going to wait until this one gets shipped and the next one gets shipped. Other things to notice is at the moment, the only pipe that's actually doing any shipping is number 5. I don't have anything on number 5, so I wouldn't do it. But if the truck happened to get there, so it was a bit of a longer truck, I would instantly put a blue icon just on there. Notice that the trucks have some closed off spots. You aren't able to put any goods in those spots. The other thing that happened is you'll notice that this truck was full. If you're sending a full truck, you gain what is written over the cab. So in this case, it is one of those gear tokens. If it's that symbol, you'll gain a marker out of the bag. And that symbol gains one of these truck tokens. If I have a truck token, I can play that. What that allows me to do is to draw one card out of the deck. Let's pretend that this is my hand. I've just drawn this one. I must play at least a 1 action point tile or card of that pickup. So I don't have to play the card I've picked up. I can play one of the other cards in my hand, but I must play at least one of them. I might play that one. I mean, that one's already down here, so it doesn't really matter, but play the truck. It can go into your shipping or your opponent's shipping. Please remember that. So if you have to play a card that you don't want to fill in, you can put it over into your opponent to make them do it. Now, the other way these cards could be used, if you didn't wish to put a truck into your opponent's shipping zone, is I could play that card to gain 2 tiles from this bag. There they are, and I can load them up there for future use. Or the third thing that I can do is I can take 2 tiles out of there. Notice it has to be the top one of each pile. If one of the piles is empty, you take 2 from the pile that isn't empty. But I take 2 and pass them in order to get a new card into my hand. If this truck gets pushed off the end and still has the goods on, so they haven't been unloaded by a pipeline, then those goods are lost. No, the other player isn't able to get any points out of those goods. The only other markings on the board are these little crosses. When you manage to receive goods and cover up those spots, or you take in the second good from each of them, that allows you to take one of these pipelines. You can then add that to any spot that you wished. He might throw it in there. That would obviously cost a gear to do the adding of the pipe. But when you add it in, what that allows is for the one pipe to become 3 other spots instead of just one other spot. It's the only way to get to the end of that 10 spot. The other thing to notice is there's some little bonuses here. So the first truck that gets here will get one of these gears. The second truck here would get 2 gears. Each time you get to one of these markers, you'll get an extra card. Each time you uncover one of these, you get a truck marker. And whenever you cover up those gears, you would get what is on there also. I have covered the end game condition already, so I won't go over that again. If at any point you wish to see what the other player is doing before you choose what you're doing, the turn order is tracked by this. So black is the first turn and white is the second turn, but majority of the stuff that's happening can happen at the same time. Look, I think that's everything you need to know for Curious Cargo. Please go ahead and watch my gameplay to get a feel for how the game actually plays. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write them below. If you have any games that you would like to be Gamesplained, please shoot me an email to thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter @thegamesplainer to keep up to date with the games that I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.